So today we're going to read the Bible. I know I don't have to video it every time I read the Bible, but I also want to say that I'm no longer in a relationship. And that's something that I originally did make a video about, but then I was like, I'm not actually going to post it because it doesn't feel right. It happened 3 days ago. It was, if he comes across this video, I'm sorry I acted like a psycho. I don't know why I acted like a psycho. I've never acted that way in my life with any relationship with anyone. And I'll still be your friend if you want that. That's all I can say. I'm not going to sit here and explain everything I did, how it happened, but, yeah. I can hear my neighbors, and they sound kind of close, and I'm kind of annoyed by it. But anyways, I really miss when nobody lived over there. Yeah. But so today, let's see what we're reading today. Because we know I use this study guide. Because I could just read the Bible outright. I could. But I don't exactly know how to go about it. If you're on my porch, get off my porch. Thank you. Before I call the police. Jacob and Esau. I believe that's how that's pronounced. Right? I'm not familiar with the story. I don't think anyway. Key moment, Genesis 33. Genesis 25, 19 to 26, 22, 32 to 33. Okay, so let's figure this out. Also, I saw something today that said stop viewing the Bible as homework and start viewing it as a weapon. And I need to keep that in my mind and in my heart. After stealing his brother Esau's inheritance, Jacob lives life under threat and learns what it means to accept grace from his adversaries. I need to wake up. I keep wanting to yawn, and I don't want to yawn. Like, I don't actually want to. No. Wake up, brain. Born to Rebekah and Isaac, Jacob was the younger twin of his brother Esau. The story of his birth gives the reader some immediate clues to the complex status he will hold in life. I can't read today. God tells Rebekah that the two born of her will be separated, and that one people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. As the twins are delivered, Jacob comes out clutching the heel of his brother Esau. This birth account sets the stage for his winding tale of mistakes, trauma, wounds, and transformation. The saga begins as Jacob, jealous of his brother's birthright as the firstborn, sets out to steal a blessing of inheritance meant for Esau. In a moment that sounds as far-fetched as it does dramatic, Jacob tricks his aging, semi-blind father by impersonating Esau during the blessing ritual. This act of deception confers the blessing upon Jacob, by which Esau is understandably enraged. With his life under threat by Esau, Jacob flees. The estranged brothers spent many years apart, building their own families and amassing their own wealth. Jacob continues his pattern of duplicity and desperate bid after bid to prove his own worthiness to himself and others. In doing so, he embroils himself in numerous deadly conflicts, all the while never quite escaping the cast of Esau's shadow. The height of their conflict reaches its peak as Jacob learns that Esau is coming with 400 men to exact revenge on him and his family. Jacob splits up his wives and children and their servants, commands them to stay behind, and walks out ahead to meet Esau's company. He is prepared to die at the hands of his brother. Sorry. But Jacob does not get what he expects. Instead of being met with violence and rage, the story says that Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. What Jacob anticipated as the end of the road, the death of the blessing, the loss of the promise, was not the final word. Still perhaps an account of the traumas that he carries. Jacob does not fully recognize the grace that Esau offers him. He still feels the pull of old fears and insecurities. Esau offers to travel alongside him, but Jacob responds by saying, So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me, and according to the pace of the children. Jacob is communicating something about his own fear, albeit indirectly. He is anticipating, even after Esau's embrace, that his brother will come up from behind and kill him, as if the grace is too good to be true or too far-fetched to be trusted. Jacob is wrong. Instead of rejection, it is reunion. Instead of aboundment, it is affection. Relationship is both reassured and reconciled. He has to learn how to accept grace from an unexpected source. God seems to pay particular attention to controversial people, and the character of Jacob is no exception. See, it has this long thing you read, and then it says today. God seems to pay particular attention to controversial people, and the character of Jacob is no exception. His story is marked by self-doubt, insecurity, and fraud. The choices he makes throughout his life are not parables of virtue or exemplary in any way. Yet his role in the formation of the Jewish people could not be overstated. Not long before the beginning of our passage, he was renamed Israel by an angel, going on to be the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. These are the kinds of complex people that are mixed up in God's story. As we recall our own moments of crisis, we may discover there is a part of Jacob in all of us. Many of us know exactly what it is like to come into the world clutching the ankle of someone else's promise and someone else's blessing. Other of us have been antagonized because of who we are or what we look like. Still, some of us are faced with the consequences of our own mistakes, confronted with the ways we have hurt others. The grace of this story for our lives today is that just as Esau looks at Jacob with unexpected tenderness, the heart of God also sees something different about ourselves than we do. When we are haunted by the ghosts of our past and convinced that our traumas are eternal, God sees us with an eye for beauty. It is this grace that gives Jacob cause to exclaim to Esau, For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. For God has been gracious to me. Jacob learns to accept grace. Like Jacob, when we have internalized the limiting belief that love is scarce and that our worst mistakes define our stories indefinitely, we have a God who gently intervenes to remind us that we are wrong. The opportunity in this story is to remember that not only is there grace available to us, but that we must also learn to accept it in all forms it may come. Wow. And I gotta go do the reading now. But before I do, I'm gonna circle this thing here. but I'm gonna pause the video now to read because I don't like these videos being immensely long, because I don't have the attention span to watch something that long, so I don't want somebody else to have to or expect them to. Now, the verses are here, which is Genesis 33, and then it has the full reading as Genesis 25, 19 through 16, and Genesis 22, 32 through 33. So if you want to read it, you can. So I'm not sure if I read it right, but I tried to make sense of it. Sit up straight, take a deep breath. Using the art element on the previous page, take a moment to reflect on the story. Invite God to speak to you. Where does your own story feel complicated? Are there ways in which you feel burdened by your past? See, you know what's interesting is that a lot of times when I start reading these, they apply to my life where I'm at. And it's so weird, right? It doesn't seem like this would apply to me because it's two brothers, right? But it's talking about grace. And it's talking about accepting grace from unknown sources. It's talking about accepting God's grace. It's talking about, in even some cases, probably giving grace, right? Because the two main characters, one has to give grace to the other, and the other one doesn't expect it. And it also asks here why my past. Like, it says, where does your own story feel complicated? The situation right now that I am in with my now ex is complicated, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say his name. But it's complicated, and that's just the truth. And then it says, are there ways in which you feel burdened by your past? Yes. Currently, right now, I could say that what just happened is still attached to me. That's technically part of my past. But the main way I feel affected by my past and burdened by my past, and I apologize if I get teared up here, is the fact that when I was with my now ex, there were so many times where he would do something small, or he would have a certain behavior, or he would look a certain way, and my brain would immediately call back to how my ex behaved, or how my ex was, or how my ex... And then there was the way I acted towards the end, where I was acting psychotic and manic, and I was messaging him a bunch of times. And I'm not proud of that, okay? I accept full blame for what I did wrong, for what I did to cause this. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not awesome. I'm not amazing. I'm not great. I'm not always right. A lot of the times I'm not right, to be honest. I just try to make the best of when I make a mistake, because that's all you can do as a human being. But my past is one of the things that sabotaged my thoughts, sabotaged my feelings, sabotaged anything. And some people would argue that it's because it was long distance, because, we weren't right beside each other, but I sit here and I think my past would do this even if he was right in front of me. My past would still be in my head. My past would still be telling me stuff. My past would still be trying to convince me of whatever. And that would happen whether he was right in front of me or on a screen or whatever. And he didn't ask for that. He didn't ask for that, and he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve somebody who's not mentally well. Now, he's not perfect, but I also sit there and examine my behavior. And I know where I went wrong, I know what I did wrong, and I know that I was over the top. And like I was saying, it's because of my past. It's because of my past. Do you believe love is abundant? Yes. I believe love is abundant. I believe it's there. I believe it comes in a lot of different forms. It can be shown in a lot of different ways. And a person can love you and still feel that something is wrong. Even if they don't want to admit it to themselves. What prevents you from accepting grace for yourself? Knowing that I could have done better. Knowing that there was no real reason for me to act the way I was acting. Knowing that no matter how somebody treats me, knowing I can do better, I didn't have a reason to be that way. Knowing that I should be better at controlling my reactions. Because they always say, like, you can't control what other people do or say to you, but you can control how you react. And I forget that, and I forgot that. What prevents you from accepting grace for yourself, from others, from God? And those are the things. And in a lot of cases, the whole, knowing that I could have done better is a big one, because you think God is there and He's seen everything you've done and He knows everything that's in your heart and your mind. But you don't trust Him to, like this weird thing where we're human beings, so we have these complicated brains, and we think our brains can figure everything out. We think we know everything, and we don't. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to learn that you don't know everything the hard way. And man, it sucks when you do. And I know that everyone's tired of hearing about my relationship and my life problems, but it just so happens that every time I open up this thing, every time I open it up and I start reading the Bible, it's exactly what I need. And I think I need to give myself grace in that I'm only human and I made a mistake. And, because I've already, and this is not me tooting my own horn, right? I know that I am so quick to give other people grace. There were times when he did hurt me, and I would say, I forgive you. Because my want and my, care for him outweighed how I cared about myself. I would give him grace and forgive him, but I couldn't prevent myself from acting like a psycho in some moments. I'm really not like that. I'm really not that person, and I keep beating myself up about it, but I can't undo it. And I need to give myself grace about that, because I can't go back and not do it. I can't go back a couple days ago and slap myself and say, hey, stop it. let it go. Give him space. Because maybe if I did, he wouldn't have blocked me. Maybe he was trying to find a way or think of a way to talk to me. I don't know. And I'm not trying to be too forgiving of him, because for all I know, he could have been doing any number of things. He could have been thinking any number of bad things. He could, you know what I mean? There could be something that is going on in his life that he can't deal with a relationship right now. There could be any number of things. I don't even want to know what that was. I don't know what it was. I don't want to know what caused it. And if there's a demon in my house, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. It could have been my shower head. My shower head is on one of those things that suction cups, and then it sits down in it. And sometimes the suction cup will unsuction. That's probably what it was. But, yeah, I just need to remember to give myself and him time and grace. And I also need to remember not to lean on my own understanding. I try to, because I feel like we as human beings seem like such whiny, tantrum-throwing creatures to God sometimes. Like, we have to seem that way. So when we have a problem, some of us don't want to go to him. Don't want to talk to him. Don't want to ask him about it. He's been watching our tomfoolery for thousands of years. Hundreds of years. However you want to put it. He's seen every possible scenario you or I are ever going to go through. He knows more about it than us. But we don't go to him for some reason. I couldn't just, calm down and put my phone away and open my Bible. And if I would have, I believe things would have went better. Things would have went differently. But for some reason, I didn't. And now I am. I'm letting God handle everything. I'm putting whatever's left of whatever you want to call this in God's hands. I'm praying over me, but I'm also praying over my now ex, because I do believe my ex is hurting. I do believe my ex is going through it too, because I don't think he wanted to break up with me. I think that something about the way our relationship was felt off. Maybe too overwhelming, maybe too far apart, I don't know. But I could kind of see him distancing himself from me, but I couldn't admit it to myself because I didn't want to. And there were times where I thought about bringing it up, like, hey, are you trying to distance yourself from me? Are you trying to push me away? But I didn't want to start a fight. I didn't want to accuse him of something that he wasn't doing. You know? And, so that's where we're at. And I wasn't going to talk about my relationship, but I really didn't, but it got in there somehow, because it just happens that everything that I read seems to relate back to my life somehow, and I don't think that's a coincidence. No matter what I'm going through, something that I read in the Bible, with this, especially the study guide being the order that it is, things I've never read in the Bible, it always relates back to something I'm going through, which is crazy. I've done a few of these videos, and, I just need to learn how to let God handle things better, because I don't want to be controlling, and I don't want to try to be the one that handles everything, because I know I can't. But I also don't think that I completely understand how to look at God and be like, take it. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, and I'm really trying. I don't know if it's pride or stubbornness or The whole, I don't want to just seem like somebody who's coming to you only when I need something, or only when, because I'm not the only person that feels this way when they talk to God. I can't be. Like, you feel like you only go to God when you need something, and I know that's why God is there, but I need to get better at that. And I know some of you hate watching somebody cry and blubber on the internet, but if you can't cry about the things that your Lord and Savior is doing for you, then what can you cry about? And I know everything's gonna be okay. I know that I'm gonna be okay. I know that somehow things are gonna work out, but I also know that God's got me. I just feel foolish right now and hurt. And I regret the way I acted. Even if other things were going to cause an end to the relationship anyway, I still shouldn't have acted the way I did. And I'm not going to sit here and explain in detail how I acted, because me and him know. God knows, but me and my ex know, and that's enough. And again, I'm just where I am. So let's wrap this up, shall we? Gracious God, I open myself to you amidst all the wrongdoings. May I seek to know your love is abundant today and tomorrow. May I see this world with your eyes. And that's another thing. I'm trying to learn to see people the way God would see them. To understand that human beings, we're all flawed. We're all a mess. We're all in need of grace. We're all in need of saving. We're all in need of blessings. We're all in need of God's wisdom. We're all in need of God's plan, or however you want to say it. We're all in need of it, right? But a lot of us are too stubborn, and we think, I'll figure this out. And sometimes you might figure it out because it might be something small or simple. Or something happens and it seems to calm down for a while and you think you figured it out. You didn't figure it out. You didn't figure it out. If you think you figured it out, start praying. That's all I'm going to say. Because there's been so many times in my life that I thought I had something figured out. I thought everything was good. I thought, okay, that happened. This happened. I dealt with it. I'm good. If you think you figured something out in life, start praying and reading your Bible. That's all I'm going to say. Because you didn't. Because none of us have it figured out. If you meet a Christian that tells you that, or seems like they have everything figured out, get away from them. Get away from them. If they claim to be a Christian but also act like they're perfect and uppity and know everything and like everything's figured out for them, get away from them. Now, it's one thing if they say, the only reason I have anything I have, the only reason I have a life that seems put together, the only reason I have a spouse, a car, a house, whatever, that seems put together is because God is holding it together. God is, like, that's the only time. But never trust anybody who acts like they have everything together, because they don't. I walk around sometimes like I think I have all the answers, or I think that I can figure things out, and I can't. I don't. And then what made me decide to start reading the Bible more is because when I don't, not only do I feel like kind of, guilty or convicted or whatever, it's not like a heavy sadness or like I hate myself or something, but I feel like it gnawing in the back of my head, like, you should read the Bible. And if I'm going through something, like before I started acting crazy, something was telling me that I needed to start coming home and reading my Bible about me and him, about my ex and me. I needed to read my Bible, I needed to talk to God, but I didn't. I picked my phone up and I would start messaging him or start trying to call him or sit there and wait for him to call me. And I would pray about me and him at the same time. So it wasn't like I wasn't talking to God, but I should have been reading the Bible because it would have communicated to me better. You know? And I think this is telling me to forgive myself for the way I acted. But that's going to take a minute. Because I acted like an idiot. In a lot of ways. I need to stop. But yeah. I'll be okay. You know, it's one of those situations where I want to talk about it and vent, but I also don't want to talk about it at the same time. But God already saw. He knows. And he also knows what he's doing right now. Meaning my ex. He knows what my ex is doing. He knows what my ex is feeling. He knows what my ex is going through. And for all I know, my ex could be sitting there crying and praying and trying to figure stuff out too. I don't know. My ex wasn't really a believer, but he told me that one time he did pray when something was happening. And I forget what was happening, but he told me that he actually prayed out loud to God about it. And if he actually did, then anyone can pray, you know what I mean? Like, anyone can pray, obviously, but I don't know. I'm just gonna see where things go. Thank you guys for watching and putting up with my blubbering and, you know, thanks.